Anna, a compassionate and warm-hearted woman, first encountered David at a local charity fundraiser on a crisp autumn evening. The event was bustling with energy volunteers moving about, laughter echoing through the hall, and the comforting aroma of freshly baked goods filling the air. Anna had been deeply engrossed in her work, organizing donations and ensuring everything ran smoothly, when she noticed him. David sat quietly in a corner, observing the lively crowd with a serene expression. His wheelchair, though noticeable, was far from the most striking thing about him. What truly captured Anna's attention was the gentle kindness in his eyes and the faint, almost mysterious smile that played on his lips. There was a calmness about him, a quiet strength that seemed to radiate from within, drawing her gaze more than once throughout the evening. Curiosity sparked, Anna found herself glancing in his direction whenever her tasks allowed. She wondered about his story, the life behind those observant eyes. As if fate decided to intervene, David approached her during a rare, quiet moment. Rolling his wheelchair toward her with a confident ease, he greeted her warmly. "Hi," he said, his voice steady but inviting. "You seem like the heart of this event. I've been watching you make everything come together." Caught off guard by his candid observation, Anna blushed slightly but managed a smile. "I just like helping," she replied shyly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's kind of my thing." David chuckled softly. The world could use more people like you," he said, his tone genuine. Their conversation flowed naturally from there, effortlessly shifting from small talk to deeper topics about life, dreams, and even the challenges they both faced. Anna quickly realized that David was much more than his wheelchair. He was witty, insightful, and deeply empathetic. By the end of the evening, Anna felt a connection she hadn't anticipated, a spark that left her heart warmer and her mind buzzing with thoughts of him. That night, as Anna replayed their conversation in her head, she realized she had met someone extraordinary, someone who had shifted her perspective and opened her heart in ways she didn't expect. Anna hesitated at first, grappling with a mix of emotions she had never faced before. After meeting David at the charity fundraiser, she couldn't deny the spark between them. There was something magnetic about his presence, a quiet confidence that made her feel at ease and curious at the same time. Yet, despite their effortless connection and his undeniable charm, one thought lingered in her mind: his disability. David used a wheelchair, and Anna had never envisioned herself in a relationship with someone who was physically disabled. It wasn't a judgment of him, but rather a reflection of her own uncertainty. She found herself asking questions that felt difficult to confront. Could she handle the challenges that might come with his condition? Would others understand their relationship, or would they judge her? Most importantly, was she ready to step into a world that might look different from what she'd imagined for herself? For days, Anna wrestled with these questions, trying to reconcile her feelings. But as the days passed, she couldn't stop thinking about David, his warmth, his intelligence, and the way he genuinely listened to her had left an impression. It wasn't just his calm demeanor or his quick wit that drew her in. It was the way he saw her. In their brief time together, he made her feel valued and understood in a way few ever had. Finally, she decided to take a leap of faith. Summoning her courage, Anna texted David. Her heart raced as she waited for his reply, and when it came, the warmth of his words immediately put her at ease. They planned their first date at a small cafe in town. Anna was nervous, unsure of how it would go or whether people might stare. But the moment she walked in and saw David's smile, every worry melted away. He greeted her with his usual calm confidence, and within minutes, their conversation flowed as easily as it had the night they met. As their relationship unfolded, Anna began to see David not as someone defined by his wheelchair, but as a man with depth, humor, and an incredible capacity for love. They bonded over shared values, both valued kindness, had a passion for giving back, and shared a love for the simple joys in life. Their dates were filled with laughter and meaningful conversations that seemed to make the world outside fade away. Anna came to appreciate not just who David was, but the way he made her feel. He didn't make her feel as though she was navigating a relationship with a disabled person. He made her feel as though she had found someone who truly saw her, someone she could fall in love with. Over time, Anna's initial doubts faded. She realized that the things she once worried about were insignificant in the grand scheme of their connection. David's disability, she learned, wasn't something that defined him. It was simply one part of his life, much like her love for books or her quirky habit of humming when she was nervous. What mattered most was how he treated her, how he made her feel, and how he saw the world. Their bond deepened, and with every moment they spent together, Anna felt more certain that meeting David had been a turning point in her life. She had found someone who didn't just compliment her, but inspired her, and in embracing the unexpected, Anna discovered a love more profound than anything she had ever dreamed of. As Anna and David's relationship blossomed, the warmth and joy they shared began to cast a light on the challenges lurking in the shadows. For all the laughter and closeness they found in each other, Anna couldn't completely ignore the quiet doubts that occasionally surfaced in her mind. While David's wheelchair had quickly become something she barely noticed in their day-to-day interactions, the world around them often reminded her of its presence. Friends and family, initially supportive, began to voice concerns as the relationship grew more serious. One evening, over tea at her parents' home, Anna's mother hesitated before speaking up. "Anna, sweetheart, I can see how happy David makes you," she began, her tone gentle but firm. "But have you really thought about what this means for your future? Marriage is a big commitment, and with David's condition, well, it won't always be easy. You need to think about what life might look like down the road." Anna felt her stomach knot at the words. "Mom," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady, "David's wheelchair doesn't change who he is. He's kind, thoughtful, and everything I've ever wanted in a partner. Why does everyone act like this is such a big deal?" Her mother sighed, setting down her cup. "It's not just the wheelchair, Anna. It's the responsibilities that come with it. What if his condition worsens? What if he needs more care than you can give? I just don't want you to feel trapped later, like you took on more than you realized." The conversation lingered in Anna's mind long after she left her parents' house. And it wasn't just her mother. During a lunch with her closest friends, the topic came up unexpectedly. "Anna," her best friend Lisa said, leaning in with a concerned expression, "you know we love you, and we think David is great. But are you really sure about this? You've always been the one to put others first, and we just want to make sure you're happy, not just doing this because you feel like you have to." Anna stared at her half-eaten sandwich, suddenly unable to find her appetite. "I'm not doing this because I have to," she said defensively. "David makes me happy. Isn't that what matters?" Lisa exchanged glances with their other friends. "Of course it matters," she said, her tone softening. "But marriage is your whole life. Have you really thought about what happens when things get hard? When it's not just love and good days, but the real challenges?" That night, Anna sat alone in her living room staring at a stack of wedding invitations she had yet to send. The words of her mother and friends echoed in her mind. They weren't wrong. There would be challenges. She knew life with David might look different from what she'd imagined before she met him. His disability wasn't something she could ignore entirely, and the practical realities of their life together might require more from her than she had ever given in a relationship. But the part they didn't understand, the part she struggled to put into words, was that her love for David wasn't an act of selflessness or charity. It was real, deep, and rooted in who he was as a person. David wasn't defined by his wheelchair, any more than she was defined by her love for art or her habit of overthinking. He was kind, funny, and compassionate. He saw her in ways no one else ever had, and he made her feel like the best version of herself. Still, the doubts weighed on her. She had always been someone who cared deeply about others' opinions, and the quiet whispers from her friends, family, and even strangers gnawed at her resolve. Would people always see her relationship with David as a sacrifice, a compromise? And if they did, could she live with that? One evening, sitting with David in their favorite park, Anna finally voiced her fears. "David," she began hesitantly, "I love you so much, but sometimes I worry about what people say. They think I'm taking on more than I can handle, that life with you will be harder." David turned to her, his eyes soft but unwavering. "Anna, I know being with me isn't what most people imagine for you. I get it. But I don't want you to love me despite my wheelchair. I want you to love me for who I am, with it or without it." His words struck a chord in her heart. She realized then that love was never meant to be about meeting expectations or proving people wrong. It was about finding someone who made life richer, even if it wasn't always easier. And for Anna, that person was David. Together, they were building a love strong enough to weather not just societal judgment, but the real challenges of life ahead. Despite the doubts and whispers from those around her, Anna found herself returning to one undeniable truth. Her love for David was real. It wasn't built on pity or obligation, nor was it a response to what others thought she should do. It was a deep connection that she hadn't expected but couldn't ignore. As the weeks passed and the voices of concern grew louder, Anna took time to reflect on what truly mattered to her. Late one evening, sitting by the window in her small apartment, Anna stared out at the city lights, lost in thought. The conversations with her family and friends replayed in her mind the warnings about challenges, the concerns about responsibility, the fears about what her life might look like if she stayed with David. But as she thought about those moments, she also thought about David. The way he listened to her, as if she were the only person in the world. The way he made her laugh until her sides ached. And the way he looked at her with a love so pure it felt like home. Anna realized that every relationship had its challenges. No partnership was without its trials, and no love story was perfect. What made a relationship worth fighting for wasn't the absence of obstacles, but the strength of the bond that held two people together through them. David wasn't defined by his wheelchair any more than she was defined by her doubts. He was a man of kindness, strength, and unwavering love, a man who had shown her what it meant to be truly seen and appreciated. With a deep breath, Anna made a decision. She resolved to let go of the opinions and judgments of others. Their love was not for others to understand or validate. It was for her and David to nurture and protect. She knew there would be challenges, but she also knew that every love worth having required courage and commitment. From that moment on, Anna chose to focus on what truly mattered, the connection they shared, and the joy they brought to each other's lives. In David, she had found not just a partner, but a love that was worth every challenge and more. And for her, that was all that mattered. On their wedding day, Anna sat at her vanity, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her heart raced with a mixture of nervous excitement and overwhelming joy. The room around her buzzed with quiet activity, her bridesmaids making final adjustments to their dresses, her best friend Lisa fussing over the veil, and her father pacing the room, trying to hold back his emotions. But Anna was in her own world, her mind swirling with thoughts of what lay ahead. The wedding dress she had carefully chosen hung perfectly on her, the lace and delicate beading catching the morning light streaming through the window. It was the dress she had always dreamed of, but her thoughts weren't on the fabric or the flowers waiting at the church. They were on David. She imagined him waiting at the altar, his calm presence grounding her even from afar. The thought of seeing him, of walking toward him and committing their lives to one another, sent a wave of warmth through her that eased some of her nerves. Yet, beneath the excitement, Anna couldn't completely ignore the whispers. She knew that among the many guests filling the church pews, not all were there with full hearts of support. She had overheard the quiet doubts, the murmurs questioning whether she was making the right choice. Some whispered about the challenges of marrying a man with a disability, while others speculated whether she was sacrificing too much. Even distant relatives who barely knew her or David had opinions about their relationship. But as Anna adjusted her veil and took one last look in the mirror, she made a decision. Today wasn't about them. It wasn't about their doubts, their whispers, or their inability to understand the bond she shared with David. Today was about love, hers and David's. It was about the quiet strength they had found in each other and the way their connection had grown despite the challenges and judgments of the outside world. "Are you ready?" Lisa asked softly, standing behind her with a reassuring smile. Anna nodded, her determination solidifying with each passing moment. "Yes," she said, her voice steady. "I'm ready." As she walked into the church, arm in arm with her father, the soft hum of conversation quieted. All eyes turned to her, and she could feel the weight of their stares. But as her gaze met David's, everything else melted away. He was waiting for her at the end of the aisle, his face filled with love and a quiet confidence that steadied her trembling heart. The whispers no longer mattered. The doubts of others faded into the background. In that moment, all that existed was the man she loved and the life they were about to begin together. Each step she took brought her closer to him, and with every step, her heart filled with more certainty. By the time she reached the altar, Anna knew without a doubt that this was where she was meant to be. Together, she and David would face whatever challenges came their way. Their love, tested and strengthened by adversity, was a love worth celebrating, a love worth everything. As they stood hand in hand, ready to exchange their vows, Anna felt nothing but joy, hope, and an unwavering belief in the life they were building together. As the wedding ceremony began, the air in the church was filled with quiet anticipation. Anna stood at the altar, her hand clasped in David's, her heart pounding with emotion. The moment felt surreal. Years of love, laughter, and shared dreams had brought them here. She looked into David's eyes, feeling nothing but gratitude for the man who had changed her life in ways she never expected. But as the priest began to speak, she noticed something different in David's expression. His usual calm demeanor was overshadowed by a flicker of hesitation, as though he was wrestling with an inner conflict. Before the vows could proceed, David took a deep breath, his grip on Anna's hand tightening. "Wait," he said, softly, his voice breaking the stillness of the room. The congregation fell silent, their curiosity piqued. Anna's brow furrowed in confusion as she searched his face for answers. "David, what's wrong?" she whispered, her voice laced with concern. He turned to her, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and determination. "Anna," he began, his voice trembling but steady, "there's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you a long time ago." The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, and the church seemed to hold its breath. I'm not actually disabled," he confessed, his voice low but clear. Gasps rippled through the room, and Anna felt her knees weaken as his words sank in. "What?" she managed to whisper, her voice barely audible, her mind struggling to process what she had just heard. David's gaze remained fixed on hers, unwavering despite the murmurs spreading through the pews. "I pretended to be disabled," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "I'd been hurt before, used by people who only cared about my wealth or appearance. I wanted to find someone who could see past all of that, someone who would love me for who I truly am." Anna's chest tightened as the enormity of his confession washed over her. She felt a swirl of emotions, shock, betrayal, and disbelief, battling with the love she still felt for the man standing before her. "Why didn't you trust me with the truth?" she asked, her voice breaking. "How could you keep something like this from me?" David's eyes glistened with tears as he reached for her hand again. "Because I was afraid," he said quietly. "Afraid that the truth would change how you felt about me. But my love for you has always been real, Anna. Every word, every moment. Please believe that." As silence filled the church, Anna stood frozen, torn between her heartbreak and the love she knew they shared. The weight of his secret was undeniable, but so was the bond they had built. This revelation was not the end. It was a test of their love's resilience. Anna felt the world collapse around her as David's shocking revelation echoed in her mind. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, as she stood there, surrounded by the whispers of the stunned congregation. Her vision blurred with tears, and the weight of the moment became too much to bear. Without a word, she turned and hurried out of the church, leaving David and the guests behind. She found herself in a small, quiet room at the back of the building, sinking into a chair as her chest heaved with emotion. Burying her face in her hands, Anna let the tears flow freely, the weight of David's confession pressing heavily on her heart. How could he have lied about something so fundamental? How could the man she trusted so deeply have kept such a life-altering secret? As the initial shock began to subside, Anna forced herself to take slow, steady breaths. Her mind drifted to the journey they had shared, the countless conversations, the laughter, the moments when David had made her feel seen and loved like no one ever had. The wheelchair had never been the focus of her love for him. From the beginning, it was his kindness, his sense of humor, and the way he understood her that had captured her heart. David's deception hurt deeply, but as Anna sat in that quiet room, she began to untangle her emotions. Was her love for him so fragile that it could be shattered by a single lie, no matter how big? She thought back to his words at the altar, the vulnerability in his voice as he explained why he had pretended. She couldn't excuse the lie, but she understood the fear behind it, the fear of being loved for the wrong reasons, of being valued for superficial things instead of who he truly was. Wiping her tears, Anna looked inward, searching for clarity. Despite her hurt, one truth remained. She loved David for the person he was, not for the image he had presented. He had shown her love in its purest form, and that couldn't be erased. Slowly, Anna realized that while her trust had been shaken, the foundation of their love was still there, waiting to be rebuilt. Anna took a deep breath and walked back into the church, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. She found David waiting near the altar, his face a mixture of guilt, fear, and desperate hope. When he saw her, his eyes softened, and he stepped forward slightly, hesitant but determined to face her. "Anna," he began, his voice trembling, "I am so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I know I've broken your trust, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But please, believe me when I say that my love for you has always been real. Everything else was a lie, but my feelings for you weren't." Anna looked into his eyes, searching for the sincerity she had always known in him. "David," she said, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to fall, "how could you do this? How could you lie about something so big? Did you think I wouldn't love you if I knew the truth?" David's face crumpled, and he reached for her hand. "I was scared," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "I've been hurt before, used by people who cared more about what I have than who I am. I didn't want that with you. I needed to know if your love was real, if you saw me for who I truly am. But I realize now that lying to you was the worst thing I could have done." Anna felt the weight of his words, the pain in his voice echoing her own. She closed her eyes, letting the emotions swirl inside her. Trust had been broken, but the love they shared, deep and genuine, remained. She knew forgiveness wouldn't come easily, but as she opened her eyes and saw the man she had fallen in love with, she realized their bond was worth fighting for. "I need time," she said softly, "but I do love you, David. I always have, and I believe we can get through this together." David nodded, tears filling his eyes, and held her hand tightly, grateful for the second chance she was willing to give. Anna and David stood together at the altar, their hands clasped tightly as they faced each other once more. The air in the church was heavy with emotion, the whispers of the congregation silenced by the raw vulnerability in their expressions. Tears glistened in both their eyes, not from sadness, but from the weight of everything they had endured to reach this moment. Anna took a deep breath, her voice steady but thick with emotion as she began her vows. "David, from the moment I met you, I knew there was something extraordinary about you. You've shown me love, laughter, and strength, and even when the truth was hard to hear, my heart never wavered. I promised to stand by you, to forgive, and to build a future with you together, no matter what comes." David's voice cracked as he spoke his vows in return. "Anna, you are the love of my life. I've made mistakes, and I know I hurt you, but I promise to spend the rest of my life proving that my love for you is real and unshakable. I vow to honor, cherish, and support you through every joy and challenge, as your partner and your equal." As they exchanged rings, their tears fell freely, a testament to the trials they had faced and the strength of their bond. The priest declared them husband and wife, and as their lips met in a kiss, the church erupted in applause. It wasn't a perfect beginning, but it was real, a love forged in truth, resilience, and the promise of a shared future. Together, they knew they could face anything. The story underscores the transformative power of unconditional love, forgiveness, and understanding. It reveals how true love transcends physical appearances and societal judgments, focusing instead on the essence of a person. Despite challenges, Anna and David's journey highlights the strength of a bond rooted in honesty and acceptance. Their love grows through vulnerability and resilience, showing that genuine connection is built on seeing and valuing each other for who they truly are. The story reminds us that real love isn't perfect. It's about embracing flaws, overcoming obstacles, and choosing to stand by one another through every trial life presents. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an emotional story like this one. And don't forget to comment below where you're watching from. We'd love to connect with you.